This is one of the most common traps in Marvel Snap, a trap that so many players fall into without even seeing it happen. You know the moment. You're climbing, your deck feels great, and then suddenly things fall apart. You go 3 losses, and then 5, and then you hear that voice in the back of your head go, all right, the deck is done, time to rotate. So you swap, and for a short time it feels better. Your plays feel sharper, you feel lighter because of it, the pressure drops, but then, before you know it, the same losing pattern starts again, and now you rotate again and again and again. So at some point, you're actually not rotating decks anymore. You're chasing after a feeling. You're trying to fix an emotion with an action, and you're trying to fix that frustration with novelty. And that right there, that's the part that a lot of players don't ever recognize, because it feels like progress, but it's not progress. You're just creating an endless loop. So the goal today is to break that endless loop. I'm going to walk you through the myth behind deck rotation in a way that actually helps you climb. And for those who do not know, excessive rotation is one of the top reasons that so many players get stuck in the 70 to 85-ish range, and it gives you the appearance of improving without ever fixing the real problem. So let's push into this and get honest about it. Now, again, every Snap player hits a wall with a deck. It feels incredible one moment, and then it's ice cold the next. So the natural reaction's simple. Oh, the deck stopped working. But the truth is, decks don't fall apart in 30 minutes. The meta doesn't shift during your lunch break, and your card pool didn't shrink for you to choose from or go up against, so your opponents didn't then also evolve into geniuses out of nowhere. So think about it. The thing that changed in that time exclusively is you. Your pace shifted, your reads got blurred, you started messing up on your sequencing, it got sloppier, your patience drops. But it is easier to tell yourself the deck failed than accept your rhythm slipping. Your mind wants the simple answer. Switch decks, fix the pain. To you, that's going to feel logical. It feels clean. It feels controlled, but it's not the deck. It's that shift inside you, and your brain is confusing freshness with strength. So let me break down to you what actually happens when you change decks, okay? 2 things fire instantly. First off, you feel excitement from something new because your attention's going to sharpen, you start to slow down, you make cleaner choices because you're not on autopilot. And then secondly, you choose your emotional baseline. So losing with the old deck was starting to feel personal, hence the switch. But losing with the new deck feels like research. You're investigating, so the pressure drops. Your curiosity comes back and you let yourself think again. The combination of focus and lowering your emotions improves your play automatically, but it tricks you into believing that the new deck is stronger, even though it's not stronger. All you're doing is you're just playing with intent instead of a bad habit. The reset is not mechanical in any way, it's exclusively psychological. So why does this happen? Basically, there are 3 myths that keep the cycle consistently alive. Number 1, my opponents changed. No, they didn't.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Your bracket follows cube performance and not deck choice. So if you go from a 12 cube total over the last 3 games in losses, and all of a sudden you shift to a new list, you're still going to face the same people in the same skill bracket. You're not accepting, or really escaping is a better word for it, that difficulty. All you're doing is stepping into the same pool, but with less knowledge of the lines because of the fresh change. Now, the second myth is that the new deck is all of a sudden winning more. Of course it is. You entered with a fresh mind. Your plays are slower and they're a lot clearer. Your tilt is lower because you don't have a negative connotation to it. Your decisions have purpose. And the deck itself doesn't raise your win rate. Only your mindset actually did that, which is why for myth number 3, oh, I need a deck for this meta in particular. Most ladder metas are very wide. I hope you realize that, no matter what we all say as creators, unless you need a very specific counter that your deck did not suddenly become playable because of it. So most losses come from habits and not lists. You're snapping too early, retreating too late, you're ignoring the tempo, you're ignoring information on the board. It's not the cards themselves. So think about it. Players tell themselves a deck is solved. Someone figured it out, therefore it's falling off. And that's almost never the real reason, because your habits decay before your deck ever does. So when you pilot a deck for hours, 3 skills are basically going to continue to slip. Number 1, your precision. You stop thinking through the sequences. You take lines that worked earlier without checking to see if they're still going to apply in further moments. You also lose respect because you assume matchups will play out the same way. You stop looking for your opponent's pivot points, which then also leads to the third one of curiosity. You lose the desire to explore the different board states. Your mind kind of swaps between active decision making and then just ends up in autopilot. And autopilot is what is going to kill the climb way faster than any kind of bad draw. Your new deck is only going to feel strong because your brain is back to attention mode. It's not because the list is necessarily better. Because remember this as well, when you rotate your decks constantly, you're gonna lose depth of knowledge. You never learn the real snap spots. You never learn the tough cube patterns and figuring out how to read backwards essentially from your opponent. You never learn pivot lines on game plan A needing to shift on turn 3 or turn 4, etc. You never learn the matchup discipline to realize your good matchups versus your bad matchups. You never learn how to take a losing position and still walk out with only 2 cubes on it. Because every single time you rotate your deck out and you restart your learning curve, it's going to feel and typically ends up being less productive in your mind. It's not actually less productive. You're not focusing on mastery, you're focusing on novelty, and consistency is what beats novelty. Mastery is what beats variety. So one deck being mastered really through and through is going to take you much further than 5 decks just played at surface level every single time. Now, simultaneously, stay grounded on this because there are real reasons to rotate. And these are the main correct ones. Okay, number 1, the meta actually did change. It's a new season. There was a large OTA or a balance patch that got sprinkled in. There's a new Series 5 card that drops, and all of a sudden, all of the matchups are going to change because of it. These are real signs that a list may start to fall off very quickly. Reason 2, though, is because your deck has a structural flaw. If you can't put pressure on the board by turn 5 in some way, or you cannot recover when you've been disrupted before turn 6, or there's maybe there's a very specific draw pattern that you absolutely need and it's just not happening, that's where there's weakness in the deck. So rotation is gonna be correct here. But most importantly, I want you to harp on reason 3, which is that you lost emotional control. Tilt. I mean, tilt is what destroys your clarity. It ruins your cube discipline and your snap equity. It makes your decision-making completely lopsided. And so in this case, switching decks is more of a mental reset for your head. It's not because of the cards necessarily, but swapping after 2 losses, I mean, sorry, that's just not strategy. You're just scared. So here are some actual signals. The deck itself is truly underperforming. You lose even with strong draws. I mean, that should be pretty plain and simple. You get your best line and it's still losing. Clearly the list is behind everything else. You cannot win 8 cube games. A deck without pressure can't climb. So you need a list that's gonna win when your opponent chooses to stay in. It has to be able to climb that final hurdle. And then lastly, you also rely on a lot of dream scenarios. It's the need for the perfect curve, the perfect reveal. If it's so heavy on that, it's not ready for ladder because losses need to teach you something. You could kind of call this the 4th one because losses have to teach you something from a deck. A strong deck is going to easily give you feedback to say, this is what worked and this is what didn't. And a weak deck is just going to be completely hollow. It's going to feel beyond frustrating. If you're not learning, the deck itself is wrong. So what this does is it creates this endless cycle of trying to figure out what to do with deck rotation and when not to, and and you kind of ride this awful carousel of chaos. So how do you stop it? Stop asking yourself, is the deck good? Start asking yourself instead, am I playing with intent? Am I focused? Am I in there? Because 90% of rotation comes from autopilot. Most of the time it's autopilot. So not all of it is the deck itself falling off. Bring awareness back into your gameplay, and the urge to rotate out that deck begins to fade on its own. Here's a simple drill, okay? Pick a deck, commit to 10 games. No matter what, commit to 10 games. Ignore what the games were. Wins, losses, it doesn't matter, okay? Then focus after that exclusively on your snap mechanics and your retreat mechanics. That's your next 5. And then after that, focus exclusively on the ordering and the play lines, especially in complicated combo decks, right? You're gonna notice your gameplay over time, over more and more games, improves and improves and improves long before you go to that place in your head that says, I need to change the deck. There's a problem here. And when you watch that happen, your win rate changes and it rises, but not because you changed decks. It rises because you changed behavior. You slowed down. You started snapping with intent. You retreated earlier than normal. You respected the information you were finding on the board. That's clarity. That's a lack of tilt. And all of a sudden, the forcing of plays that were never there is not your priority. Switching decks is not always the solution. It's a reaction to being uncomfortable. But clarity does not come from rotation. It exclusively comes from discipline. Because deck rotation is not a bad thing. It's not wrong, but it becomes a problem when you use it to avoid what the actual problem is. So when you rotate too often, your learning is going to reset. Your progress resets, your rhythm resets, your climb stalls because of all the resets. But when you stay focused with the deck long enough to truly understand it, get that deeper knowledge, something's going to change. And you see snap positions that you didn't notice the first couple times, first dozen times, 3 dozen times you were playing the deck, because you feel the pace of the deck. Your reactions become faster, and you take control of your own climb rather than letting the deck be the only reason it happens. So the next time you think that your deck stopped working, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Did the deck fall off, or did my focus fall off? Because once you answer that honestly, climbing becomes progress and no longer becomes panic. I hope this helped. I really do. It's a slightly different rhythm and a different cadence on these videos, and I wanted to give a different kind of insight to how to observe a deck and the reactions to how people think about it. So let me know down in the comments below. If you made it this far, what did you think of this video, this flow, this pattern? It's something that I'm constantly trying to improve and change, and it really does make the world a difference when I hear from all of you. So thank you, like, subscribe, and you all know the drill. I'll see you next time.